I'm often accused of being both Porsche biased and obsessed, but this is of course complete balls, because I'm actually BMW M car obsessed, or actually old BMW M car obsessed. But weirdly, it's not the usual DTM and circuit racing stuff that has me jabbering with delight. It's those strange few years when BMW decided to go rallying with the E30 M3 in the late 80s. If you haven't seen the video of Patrick Snyers throwing his E30 around on the Manx in 88, then you haven't lived. In fact, here's a link to it, so go away and watch it, and then come back here. Done that? Good. Now, about this obsession of mine. You might recall a while back I bought a snotty old E30 325 rally car and had a ripping time in it. But like any racing idiot, I wanted it to rev a bit more and handle a bit better, and yes, I needed to build a better car. Well, that process began last year. With the boys from Rally Prep, we vacillated on what to do, whether we should take a standard E30 shell and make it look like an M3 with wide arches and maybe an S50 inline 6 from the E36 model. But then I thought, if we're going to do this and I'm going to live my dream, I'm going to want to build my perfect M rally car, we need to start with a proper old E30 M3. And at about that time, Neil Yates from Rally Prep phoned and said, I've just been offered a really good tatty E30 M3 that needs restoring. So I bought it for 12 grand, and then the fun began. First up, the car was stripped and sent to Racing Shell Experts Caged in Somerset to have an exact replica of the original Matter cage from the 80s fabricated, with some additional strengthening in the doors. That bare shell was then taken back to Rally Prep's workshop in Cornwall, and so began the build. Suspension by Proflex, bespoke arms, a proper bag tank, and an S14 in a pretty ordinary state of tune. It's all very well waving your willy around and having 300 horsepower plus, but I wanted to take it fairly easy and not crash, so we removed the car's original engine, which had done over 100,000 miles, and bought another fresh-ish S14 from Jeff Steele that was blueprinted but otherwise standard, and bolted that in. We're looking about 240 horsepower. And that was that. The car's first run was on the YD in February, and we were running second in class when the hydraulic handbrake stuck on and we had to retire on the penultimate stage. We'd barely shaken the car down before, so some teething troubles were to be expected. Since February I've been a bit busy, but Neil's very tenacious and managed to get me to enter the Nicky Grist stages, which used some classic Welsh gravel stages up over Epping. The rally was on a Saturday, so on the previous Tuesday we went to Sweet Lamb, some of the best test stages around, to see how the car was running. We had different suspension settings, we had a rebuilt motor with better balanced pistons and internals. There was a suspicion that the engine we'd bought wasn't quite as fresh as we'd been told, and we had a faster steering rack at just over 2 turns because the old one at 2.7 turns was just a bit too slow. Now, I'm not a natural born rallyist, my family didn't rally, and I've only done a little bit myself, but I just love everything about this sport. People are so much more chilled and less worried about what the next man is doing. On a test day like this, you just pitch up, take your time, nose around the other cars testing, get covered in mud and dust, and generally smile. We needed to put a few miles on the engine to make sure it was okay, try the new setup, and most of all, we needed to work on the rustiest part of the package, me. I needed to get a better feel for hard braking, try the faster steering rack, and spend a bit more time with my co-driver Brynn Pierce barking notes at me.
This should bring us back to that crossroads and we can just start from there. I'd say that's 4. This is 4, yeah. 100.
We ran through all of this stuff. I did 3 sessions with Brynn and found the car plain brilliant. Although the switch to the faster rack had resulted in the hydraulic pump being removed, and the efforts were now very, very high. But it was so much fun to slide around on Sweet Lamb's fast loops. Tell me this doesn't look fantastic stuff. For the last run of the day, we needed to recalibrate the stack dash because the rev counter was under reading. In jumped Dave to sit next to me, the man who spent many hours building the car and who'd never been in it before or gone flat out on gravel. And now I'll pass you over to the onboard footage.
Well, that didn't end as it was supposed to end. As you can see, I'm standing on the side of a moor, and there's the car. It's now a Reliant M3 because it's got 3 wheels. Something broke on the suspension. I got the onboard to prove that it did. You doubters out there. There's the assembled masses that always are there on rallying to laugh at you. Laugh, everyone. No, there they are. Right, let's go back here and have a look at the anatomy of the accident. This has actually been dragged back about 100 yards. It ended up a bit further over there. But it started back here. If Neil comes to me in a minute, you can see the 2 lines where the cars come in. The line on the left hand side is the front left braking hard, and it's about as wide as my foot. You can just see there. That's how wide it is, right? You can see that, Neil? See that?
Yep.
Okay. This one here, well, that's wider. That's 1.5 times my foot. And you can see what's happened is something on the right front suspension is broken. Almost certainly the steering, probably the main control arm is broken, I think. You can see on the weld where it's gone. And that's just towed the wheel out, and that's just dragged me straight into the bank over here in 4th gear, which is always nice. And we've clattered the bank there. That's ripped the wheel off completely and the suspension, and yeah, we've ended up over there somewhere. That is rallying, I suppose. You've got to live with it, haven't you? So I'm going to get a nice bill now. But my biggest worry is that this is Tuesday and we're out on Saturday, and I really want to compete. So Andy, who owns the amazing 300 horsepower narrow body 3 Series, has said he's got a spare set of suspension, so hopefully that'll go on. The chassis leg is straight, top mount's taking a little tweak but nothing too bad, and yeah, the rest of it looks fine. I hope we're going to be okay, because it'd be a real shame if that has cost us the rally this weekend, because I really want to go rallying. There we go. Such is life. Come on, Neil, let's go and have a beer.
Amazingly, the Rally Prep boys did get the car ready for the rally 4 days later, only for a fuel pump to fail before the start of the first stage. I know, I can't explain it right now, I can't explain what happened, but I will in the next episode. I've not given up on this rallying lark, but it's proving to be very expensive and very frustrating.